I have seen and heard a number of people talk about proportionality with regard to the Israeli-Hamas conflict, like James O'Brien and Trevor Noah. The idea goes because 10 times more Palestinians have died than Israelis, that Israel is using disproportionate force. This concept is absolutely ridiculous, as if Israel should only defend itself when there is a near equal number of deaths on both sides. So it has to now wait for a few more Israelis to die before it attacks another terrorist stronghold. No, that is not the idea of proportionality. Proportionality is about using the right amount of force for a justifiable and necessary aim. This correct interpretation of proportionality says that if a building has a command center or a munitions drawer and it can be blown up with one bomb, then that one bomb is a proportional use of force, in the hope that other buildings don't also get damaged. But Israel goes further than that. It tells the residents that they should leave the building because it's not necessary to use that force on those residents. Israel is known to do this. Every rocket launcher, every weapon store, every command center is a justifiable target, even if Hamas place them in civilian areas, and Israel proportionally tries to strike and destroy those targets only. It is a great tragedy that civilians inevitably also die in those strikes, but a rocket launcher that has the ability to kill hundreds of Israelis and is being used in that hope should be destroyed by the Israeli Defense Forces, whose number one responsibility is to reduce the risk to their own civilians' lives. Equally, it should be the number one responsibility of Hamas to protect its citizens, whilst what they do is expose them to risk of harm. Turned around, the aim of trying to kill a few Israelis is not proportionate to the risk they place their own civilians in, knowing that Israel will defend its own citizens. They know they aren't going to destroy Israel. That being the case, what is the point of that violence? To terrorize and kill civilians, and so that this violence is played out across TV screens everywhere, and Palestinian casualty numbers create this narrative that we are discussing. Is that a proportional use of Palestinian lives by Hamas, or is that the sign of extremists? You must understand that if Hamas and the other genocidal terrorist groups win, there will be no Israel. Winning for Israel, on the other hand, looks like living in peace with their neighbors in acceptance. Shalom.